Hi, my name is Todd. I'm 58 years old, and I was just recently diagnosed with thyroid cancer. This came as a real shock to me. I was not expecting it at all. I do have lots of health concerns. I have diabetes. I have a history of family heart disease. I have Crohn's. I have PTSD and depression. So I have a lot of different health concerns and more past those. But cancer was never on my radar. And I was very shocked to hear it. Like most people, I kind of found out by accident. Just about a month ago was my daughter's, she was getting married. And so my wife and I were flying out to Seattle to go see my daughter and see her get married. And it's I'm on the East Coast, so it's a long flight. It's 6-7 hours, and somewhere towards the end of the flight, I started getting chest pains right here, actually, and I wasn't sure why that was. And I was a little concerned because of the heart history. But we got off the plane, and I just need you to understand it was. We'd be on that plane, like I said, for 7 hours. It was hot in there. It was crowded. We had, you know how it is when you're in the back of the plane, you kind of have to fight your way out. You're carrying your luggage and I had my big suitcase and my backpack and my coat was on and bags and all these things, right? You're getting out of there, you get off the plane, you're running through the airport and you're carrying all these things with you. So it was hot. My wife was sweating and out of breath. And I was right next to her doing all the same things. And for some reason, my teeth were chattering. I was freezing to death. And she said, "What the heck? You know, that's not right. You should be dying. It's hot in here. We're carrying a lot of stuff." So, and that had happened to me once before too. It had happened a few weeks before. Just in the middle of the night in bed, I felt very cold. So, I did have some symptoms, maybe. But like I said, with all the other things going on, it was hard to tell. So anyway, we got to Seattle and went to the hospital, of course, because I thought maybe I was having a heart attack. And they did an ultrasound up in my chest to see what was causing the pain. And when they did that, they caught the nodule in my thyroid, which is right over here. And said, "Hey, good news is you didn't have a heart attack. Bad news is as soon as you get back to your home, call a hospital, call a doctor, and go get that nodule on your thyroid looked at." And I was kind of shocked. I went and I did the ultrasound, and they looked at it and they said, "Yeah, you need a fine needle aspiration. Go get a biopsy." The biopsy part, if you haven't done it before, I was really, really scared. I was just so scared. I did not want someone jabbing a needle into my neck, and I was worried that that was going to be an awful experience. And I don't like needles anyway. But it really was nothing. It was really nothing. I went in and they numbed my neck. And I barely felt even that first stick. I mean, by the time I maybe had felt it, it was already numb. And everything he did past that was just pressure. He numbed like this whole area around my neck, stabbing it in different places, but I never felt a thing, just pressure. And then they went in with an even thinner needle after that. And they kind of have to, you know, they keep doing this and jabbing to get different samples from the thyroid, from the nodule. But again, this did not hurt at all. A little bit of pressure, and it was over so quickly. It took way more time to get to the hospital, for them to prep me, to tell me what was going to go on. The procedure itself took minutes, and then it was done. They held the gauze on my neck longer than the procedure took. So, after that, they told me that there would be pain and that I should take some Tylenol and Advil. Honestly, there was no pain. There was nothing. I took Tylenol when I got home just to try and get ahead of it, but it never arrived. And by the next day, I went back to work. I was going around. I was doing things. I felt almost nothing. A slight irritation in my neck, and it wasn't even Tylenol worthy. So hopefully your experience is like it was a big nothing. But yeah, so I mean, the end of this story. About a week later, I got my results, and sure enough, cancer, thyroid cancer, papillary thyroid cancer, which is PTC. The good news about that is that PTC, it's the most common cancer. It is also the most survivable. It is extremely slow growing. It does not tend to travel. I'm not saying it can't, but it just doesn't tend to. I have several nodules in my neck. The biggest of them was just under an inch big. But they found the cancer. They said, yeah, you're going to have to get it out. And that's kind of where I'm at now. So I'm waiting for my thyroidectomy. This begins next week for me. Today's Friday, and my surgery is next Thursday. I'm not sure how to feel about it right now. There's some nervousness and butterflies going on, of course. I think that's natural for any surgery. I'm not really scared. I did get a chance to go meet my surgeon ahead of time and talk to him about what's going to go on. And I'm in PA. I'll be going to the Hershey Medical Center, who I've been thrilled with so far. We honestly just moved here a few months ago, and so all my doctors are brand new to me, all of them. But it was really comforting to meet him. He was a super nice guy. He took a lot of time to explain the entire procedure and all the things going on, the cancer itself, the thyroid itself. I really like what he's going to do. I had a neck surgery because I had a disc in my neck, back of my neck blew out, and they had to go back and replace that disc and put a cage on it. So I've had neck surgery before, and you probably can't see it in this video, but there's a very small scar right along here from that surgery. So he's going to reuse that scar, make it just a little longer. They're going to have to open up more to get in. And what he says he does is he cuts the thyroid in half. He doesn't do the whole thing in one shot. And the reason he does this is he pulls out the first half, and then there's all kinds of things going on there. Your parathyroid is in there, and your glands are in there. So there's all kinds of things that can go wrong. But one of the things he's checking for is that there's also nerves that connect to your voice box and other parts of your neck and throat here. And he needs to make sure they work. One of the interesting things is usually if you get a surgery, part of that surgery is they will paralyze you, to give you a paralytic. They're not doing that in this case because you can't test a nerve if it's paralyzed. So they do not paralyze the nerve. So he's going to go and cut out half the thyroid, and then he uses a device to go and test the nerve and make sure that the nerves are still communicating and doing what they're supposed to be doing. And if they're not, then he stops right there, sews it up and gives it a few days for the nerve to recover and see if that's going to recover. I'm assuming that's not going to be the case. What should happen is he'll take it out, he'll test everything, and if everything looks good, then he goes and he removes the other side, does the same thing, does the tests, right? So he's very anal about it, which is a really good thing in a surgeon. Makes me very happy. And then they'll test for my calcium stuff. I'll stay overnight. They really do the overnight thing, he said, more for the calcium than anything else. They want to make sure that your parathyroid glands, and there's 4 of those, and only one of them has to be working. So it's a pretty good odds. But he said you just can't always tell what comes out when you're doing a thyroid surgery. He said sometimes the parathyroids come out, sometimes other things get hit. It's a messy area, but I'm not too worried about all that. I guess I'm just nervous, right? It's very weird. A month ago, I didn't even know I had cancer, and a month ago, I had thoughts of taking a piece of my body out that's been there for 58 years, and now all of a sudden, a week from now, going to cut out my thyroid, and that's scary. And I don't know how to feel about it, and not real happy about it. But I've had a lot of talks with my wife, and we said, it's scarier to let the cancer sit in there, even though it's slow growing, even though it's very unlikely to come back or spread or do anything. If you leave the thyroid in there, then cancer remains a possibility. Life without a thyroid has its own issues. I am really hoping that the levothyroxine and or whatever medications I end up going on do the job. I'm crossing my fingers that maybe some other things will get better. I've had very fuzzy brain for a long time. I've had a lack of energy for a long time. I have gut issues. I have all kinds of issues. And again, like I said, I have so many medical things going on with me that I'm not always sure where those are coming from or what's going to affect them. I've read a lot about the levothyroxine, and it seems like, unfortunately, a lot of people complain of those same symptoms afterwards: fuzzy head, lack of energy, things like that. But again, nothing I can do about that right now. So I'm making this partially for myself. I want to see where I was at, before surgery. One of the things I'm worried about is I do make videos for a living, not like this typically. This is the first time I've ever sat in front of the camera and talked to people. Usually I'm a voiceover, educational video kind of person, but I do have to worry about my voice because I am the voiceover, and that's kind of how the series works. So I'm thinking about 11 Labs, which is an AI company that does voices. They have a feature where you can record your voice and then AI it, right? So if I make videos in the future, I could go in and just type in my script, and hopefully the AI will use my actual voice samples and then record that. And I'll see if I get that done this week. Maybe I'll make a video on that as well. So if anybody's in my same position, if your voice is kind of part of your livelihood, you might want to do that. So that's it for now. The surgery is next week. Like I said, I'm very nervous. I'm just trying to get things done right now. It's kind of hard to work because even though I'm not, if you ask me how nervous am I, right? How scared am I on a daily basis, on a minute-to-minute basis? I'm getting my work done, I'm going shopping, I'm watching TV, I'm doing whatever, right? So it's not super high. It's not like I'm not functional, but there is this fuzziness in the back, and it's very hard to concentrate. And 1 minute I'm working, and next minute I find I'm just kind of scrolling through Reddit and going through the internet and looking on YouTube and doing whatever. And it's hard to get back in focus, and it just is what it is. I'm very lucky. My employer has been very supportive. Said, take all the time you need. Don't worry about getting stuff done too much right now. And that's been really great, and that's been very helpful. And I hope that whoever is watching this also has some sort of lifestyle or employer that will help you get through this a little bit. I'm not looking forward to the bills. I got to be honest with you. I'm not going to get political in here, but healthcare is not doing great right now. It's getting very expensive, and the government is shutting down more healthcare resources than I can remember in a long time anyway. But it is what it is. So we'll deal with that problem when I get there. So for now, it's next week. My plan is to hopefully come back and give you sort of a post-mortem afterward. I'd like to show you the scar, maybe tell you how I'm feeling at that point, both in terms of pain and in terms of mental health. My overall mental health, like I said, I have depression and PTSD. I've been working on that, and they've been pretty good so far through this. I haven't needed any extra medication or any kind of services for that, but it is hard. Like, I've been watching TV this week, and we're watching an excellent series, rewatching an excellent series called 6 Feet Under. If you ever get a chance to watch it, I recommend it. But there's a lot of death, obviously, in 6 Feet Under, and people dying. And we just saw the end of the series, and there's a lot of deaths at the end of the series. So it kind of gets into your brain, right? You start thinking. And I have a neighbor across the street who's in the hospital right now. A neighbor next door, his wife just died. She was in the hospital. A neighbor on the other side fell, hit his head. And we have a relative who just passed away from cancer. Found out 10 weeks ago. Dead today. So all of that's in my brain right now, on top of the cancer diagnosis and the surgery next week. And I don't know how to feel about it, so I'm just taking it day by day. Anyway, I hope this is helpful to someone. If you came here looking for all kinds of in-depth information on cancer, I'm sorry I didn't give that to you. I think I'm more looking to reach out to people to see, how are you feeling emotionally? How are you as a person? How are you dealing with the stress of having cancer, of losing a thyroid, of going on medication for the rest of your life, of, I don't know, just getting through this, right? God bless. I have a wonderful wife who's been completely supportive. I have a wonderful family. My sister and her husband in particular live nearby and are completely supportive. Friends and family. Just everyone's been wonderful. I'll be honest with you. I sometimes feel ridiculous. I don't know if you hear that all the time in a cancer video, but it's such an easy cancer to survive, this particular one, that it almost feels like I'm playing that I have cancer, like I'm phoning it in somehow. I made this little image with AI of my first cancer set, like a little kid's Fisher Price, my first cancer, right? But that's what it feels like. I feel like I almost feel silly being scared and worrying, because there's so many people out there who need chemotherapy and, dangerous surgeries, and just getting through life one day at a time and trying to deal with all of it. And this isn't that kind of cancer. I won't need chemo. I won't even need an oncologist after this, assuming, right? Unless they open me up and find something more in there. But I don't know. It's just, I'm not expecting that. And that's one of those things that I can't think about right now. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So if they open me up and there's more, I'll tell you then. I'll share that with you. But for now, like I said, it's a very commonplace surgery. It's in and out. If they weren't watching for the calcium, I would be out the same day. They're going to use glue here. There's not going to be really much of a scar. They said on day one I could go home and take a shower if I wanted to, just to scrub the area. But yeah, I should be able to go back to work and do all that. So anyway, folks, that's my story. I will check back in later and let you know how things go and how I'm feeling at that point, in terms of pain, in terms of my voice or the working of my head and neck, in terms of my overall mood and ability to function, and hopefully give you some information if you're about to undergo the same procedure. Maybe I can, run ahead and tell you what it's going to be like. So, all right, everyone, have a wonderful day and have a good life.